Good morning. This is Ron Braun again. I'm going to add a video to my VPA and Wyckoff Tools series. I'm doing this on the morning of December 8th, 2023. It's actually about midday now. And of course, this is using the volume price analysis and Wyckoff indicators in HGS software. Just always remember, the market is your teacher. Now I'm going to move on to my standard risk disclaimer and just read these two lines. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Today I'm going to get into a little bit of practical prospecting and also point out some User SmartGroups that I just put in yesterday. If you go under Ron's Top User SmartGroups, this is after you do the add-on installation, of course, and go down to the end of day instant watch lists. These are watch lists that are updated every day, and the date is attached to them. The reason I have these in here is to give us a shortcut to looking for stocks. Now what I did this time is I used box stocks only, or these are the stocks that have shown consistent earnings growth over time. If you want to learn about box stocks, and I'm not going to do it here, just go into the help file, click on the search. I think HGS boxes will bring it up. And click on that, and it tells you right here how these box numbers are designated. I'll just give one example. A box 1 stock has an annual earnings growth for the last 5 years of greater than 50%, and the average of the earnings growth over the most recent 2 quarters compared to the quarters years ago. That a year ago results is greater than 100%, and so on. You can read this yourself. It'll make more sense to you. Just remember, though, that box stocks, the lower the number 1 through 10, the greater the earnings consistency and growth. So in other words, I'm bringing fundamentals into my scans here. So what we have here are 4 different box stocks. These are instant watch lists. I did not limit these to 25, but you're not going to get a bunch of stocks with most of these scans. So this one is fan up. So if I go to my number 2 context chart, the fan is going to have to look like this. The 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18 are going to have to be stacked. And if you look down here, these stocks, if I click through here and get this list of stocks into the warehouse, so I just clicked on this, clicked on the warehouse icon up here, and they came in here. I should say it automatically populated the warehouse view just by going from here, clicking on the warehouse up here into the view, and you can see that these just all crossed over yesterday, the 3 crossing above the 6. That is what this is all about. Now the days since the volume point of control crossover could be 0, it can be any number. So this one right here, AMP, crossed over 7 days ago on the VPOC, but only yesterday on the 3 and 6. So I'll bring it up, just double click on it, and you can see the VPOC right here crossed over. Let me bring an arrow up here. So it crossed over, clear back here. There's a slight pullback. It also crossed over here, but there's a slight pullback, and now it's crossing over again as of yesterday, and you can see that it's actually up today. Now I'm going to go down and click on Fiat Aviation. I mentioned this on the Skype board this morning that it looked like a decent stock. And yesterday the 3 crossed the 6 and the VPOC also crossed. So when I bring that arrow back up, you can see the crossover yesterday, and it crossed over with a volume pocket pivot right here. You can see the fan is in place. Now looking at this, you can see that this has had a huge run up from around the $17 area to up around 44 right now. On the weekly chart, there were several VPA flags. What I'm going to do, or what I want to do, let's take this back to, I'll make it full screen. Let's take the daily chart and go back to January and see what was happening. I'm just going to scroll till we get back in this area, and that is, put my crosshair on. Okay, that's the end of December right here, and then here is where January began, and look how this developed. It was basing sideways. It had not broken out of this congestion area either up or down, and then right here the 3 crossed the 6 on an effort to rise, and the VPOC went positive also. The 6 and 18 also turned positive, and the 18 and 50 were positive. This was the longer term here, or intermediate term. This is the short-term trend. This is what's called the micro trend, the 3 crossing the 6, and this is where it all began. And if I minimize this and go back to January, put a crosshair on here, there's 1-6. This is a week where it happened, so you can see this consolidation area right here. Wasn't doing anything, but there was a test, confirmation with an effort to rise, and volume started coming into it, and then the next week volume really picked up, and this stock has not looked back. So here we are back to the current day. It is breaking past resistance again, and it's broken past resistance on the weekly chart. The daily chart, it's breaking right now. Volume is light today though, but still it met all the criteria for the filter, and the filter looks for these stocks that are crossing over. The 3 crossing the 6, that's number 1. Number 2, these are stocks that are setting up after the pullback. I'm going to click through to the warehouse again. Notice there are 25 of these. I'm only showing 17, but you can see that NVIDIA is at the top of the list. I didn't point this out in the prior few minutes, but the Wyckoff indicators here show that yesterday volume was less than average, the spread was narrow, but the close was very high on NVIDIA, and it crossed down 10 days ago, and the VPOC crossed down 6 days ago. Now I'm going to double click on this. Let's bring NVIDIA up, and you can see that today, here's the pullback, and today, intraday, there's volume is picking up. It's getting up near average, and here the 3 is crossing the 6, and the volume point of control has turned green today. On the weekly chart, we're getting a low volume test. Now, this one will not be confirmed until the market closes today, and this would be the end of the week also, but it's showing a low volume test. So as NVIDIA has sold off, you can see the volume spikes were pretty heavy on these 2 weeks, but it's lower, and the projected volume is lower this week. So it may be setting up to go again. Now, obviously, this is a very expensive stock. If you're going to play something like this, if I were going to play something like this, it would be with a debit or credit spread, with just so I'm not risking that much capital. Now let's I don't know anything about Apollo Asset Management. Let's look at Meta. I do know about it. Okay, less than average. The spread was above average, and the close was very high. So we should see a fairly large candle yesterday. This crossed down 7 days ago, and the VPOC turned positive yesterday. So here it is. There's your larger candle with an effort to rise and 2 VPA flags. The VPOC turned positive yesterday, and the 3 is crossing the 6 today. Now looking at the weekly chart, it broke past resistance here, failed, had an effort to fall, and it gapped clear down to here this week, and now it's trying to reverse itself. But these are just some examples of the kind of stocks that you can find using these new box stock scans. The first one is the 3 and 6 that have crossed over after a pullback. These are setting up. Now, the next one is box stocks instant watch list with a VPA flag and the fan up. So there has to be a VPA flag. On the others, there does not necessarily have to. If you look over here, you can see there's no VPA flag in a lot of these. But on this one, as I click through, you can see that every one of these has a VPA flag, and most of them are tests for supply. Here's an effort to rise right here. It's only up 10 cents today. Let's go up to the top of the list after this updates. And Path is here. Okay, yesterday it was high, above average, and very high. This crossed over 26 days ago. The VPOC crossed over 19 days ago. But yesterday there was a test for supply, heavy volume stock. It's up 3.25% today. Let's take a look at it. You can see that it had a gap up. It pulled back. Here's your VPA flag yesterday, and here's a confirmation of that flag today. It doesn't mean it's going to continue to go up, but this is based upon what's happening today. It's got to complete today in this range right here for this to be confirmed. This is an up bar closing near the high after the test, which confirms strength. Now, I haven't opened up the fundamental window on all of these, but you're going to find earnings growth on all of these stocks. And the boxes, this is a box 6 stock in this chart. If you look at the warehouse down here, it shows you what the boxes are. Box 7 stocks are considered turnaround stocks. They've had a earnings miss and they've turned around. Let's take a look at PANW. Crossed over 13 days ago, the 3 crossing the 6, pulled back. The VPOC just crossed over again yesterday. You can see the pullback. Let me open this up. Crossed over yesterday. There was a pullback on the VPOC, but not on the 3 and the 6. It lost momentum, but it still held up. Low volume test, confirmation of that test. Notice how most of these, 1, 2, 3, closed near their daily high. This is the one that's in progress today, though, so I can't count that. But this one closed near its daily high, and so did this one. Finally, there's one more in here, and this one is essentially the same. VPA flag, fan up, long-term trend up, but the short-term trend is down. So I'm going to click on that and explain what I did here. There's Palo Alto, Meta. Let's look at Shop. I haven't looked at it yet. So it crossed to the downside 3 days ago, 0 being the crossover, or 2 days ago. And same thing on the VPOC, but it's up 0.99 today. What's the flag? It's a test for supply. I'll bring it up. And here's what I mean by the short term down. The long is up, the medium's up, and I'm just using the long and the short term is down. What I'm thinking here, the reason I put this filter together is I was looking for strong stocks that have just pulled back in the short term and are setting up again. And Shopify meets that criteria. Here's the test, confirmation of that test, and it looks like it wants to go up again. So just looking at the few stocks that I've looked at so far today, you can see that there are a lot of decent looking setups. I'm going to go back to the first. I need to deactivate this. Go back to the first one. Click through on this. I said I didn't look at the Wyckoff indicators on here, but here is that Fiat Aviation that is breaking out, or it's breaking above. I shouldn't say it's really breaking out because the volume wasn't there. But yesterday, above average volume, above average spread, and the close is very high. You can see the projected volume is not that great. Now, I'm in chart number 2. I'm going to go, I do this all the time, I go to 1C because it gives me the intraday statistics, which are important. Even though this stock is clearing, resistance, there's not volume. You can see that the volume's well below average on here. So I'd like to see it have a little more volume, but it can still go without volume. This brings me to another point. I'm going to go to a different chart, and if you see the Wyckoff VFB folder here, demand chart, I'll use the candlesticks. What this does is it shows when the Wyckoff conditions met certain criteria. Here is above average, very high yesterday, and intraday today, this is blue. Now, that means something. What does it mean? Well, I've labeled everything here. I'm going to open this up. Light blue means low supply. There's demand, but there is low supply. It's going up without heavy volume. Stocks can move up without having heavy volume. If the stock is trading at or near its high, it just means there's more demand than supply. So everything's labeled here. I just put this together just kind of for a visual so you can see when these Wyckoff signals do occur. These are all above average, very high bullish candles. And then when you get into a light green, wider spread on lower volume, lack of supply. And then the yellow, narrower price spread, lower volume, also means lack of supply. And you can see this stock has been bouncing around several of the bullish Wyckoff signals, and now, like I said, it is breaking past resistance, but on light volume. This is a chart you probably won't use much, but it's there if you want to confirm and see what's happened in the past on a stock. Let's take a look at Amazon here quickly, and you can quickly see where there was demand or lack of supply. Okay, I'm going to go back up here to my black charts, and I want to point out that I use 2B a lot just because I get more information in here without having all the other moving averages. I only have one histogram here, the 3 crossing the 6, and I've eliminated the other 2. But I get the important things. I get the 3-6 crossover. I get the volume pocket pivots. I get the VPOC and the 3, 6, and 18 moving averages, exponential moving averages. While I'm in here, this is Amazon. Let's take a look at this. So here was stopping volume. Here's a gap up with a volume pocket pivot. The 3 crossed the 6. Right here, volume point of control turned positive here. This must have been after earnings, but there's a huge gap up here. Most people are reluctant to take that trade, but it really hasn't looked back. The 3 stayed above the 6 until over here it looks like, let's pull this up, until right here. Then it popped back up and it's down again, and now it looks like it's trying to go one more time. These columns will really help you out looking for stocks crossing over or pulling back. Don't ignore them. There's all this other information in here that I've got in my warehouse views. So that's going to be it for this video. I don't want to make it too long. I primarily wanted to point out these new User SmartGroups under my instant watch list. Play with them. See if you can find some good trades. Tell me what you think. And if you have any ideas for smart groups that I don't have, and I have a lot of them, just let me know. But what I'm trying to do here essentially is, for myself and for others who like box stocks, just simplify the process so I don't have to spend so much time prospecting. Thank you for listening, and have a very good weekend.